Time to stand and sing.
Just a quick word. Andrea Lane, Billy are here this morning. Did I say that correctly? I'm so happy. Kendall Kay on the drums. Bruce Lett. Jim Hale.
Raise up your hands and put a smile on your face. I'm talking everybody in the human race. We're proud and we're strong, so stand up tall. Let's all get together, have peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Every man, every woman, every boy or girl. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world.
Barry and I changed it to boy and girl because we figured that girl rhymes with
World.
Train of love is starting right here. Jump onto it. Don't you have no fear. It's yours and mine. So answer the call. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world.
Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Every man, every woman, every boy or girl. Let's all get
Play it one time, Jim.
bring peace in the world. Shelter the homeless,
Come on, open your door.
feed the hungry,
You give to the poor.
in your hearts.
Don't think small.
Let's all get together, and bring peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Every man, every woman, every boy or girl. Let's all get together.
Come on and do it again. Let's all.
all get together, bring peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Every man, every woman, every boy and girl. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Let's all get together, bring peace in the world. Woo! You guys, awesome. Please take that energy and greet your neighbor with that love.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Redondo Beach Center for Spiritual Living. And welcome to our center today. A lot of huggers out there. Marianne working her way back down from the top. Nice. So I think we're all here for various reasons. You could either be here for the wonderful band. You could also be here. And Andy, you could also be here if you've never lived in a house with air conditioning and are trying to get out of the heat for an hour. Or you could be here for the awesome spiritual message that we are given every Sunday by the wonderful Dr. Moira. And the person that we really want to acknowledge today is if you're here for the first time, we have a wonderful gift for you. Anybody with us for the first time today? Everybody's here? Okay. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. If you're too shy to raise your hand and you're here, you can also get this wonderful green bag of goodies up in front. It's also my pleasure to introduce our musical inspiration today. So give a warm Redondo Beach Center welcome to Andrea Lane.
Morning. Morning. Walking in Paris, Cairo, Cape Town, Ferguson too. Hand in hand in the spirit, stand strong for me and you. We're building on the bridges, tearing down the wall, feeding on the hungry in a world that works for all. Yeah. Listen, can you hear it? Keep your ear close to the ground. Songs of love, echoes of freedom. There's a revolution coming down. We're building on the bridges, tearing down the wall, feeding on the hungry in a world that works for all. Take my hand, I'll lift you up. Take my hand, you pull me. I can be the peace, I can be the love, I can walk the talk, I can rise above, I can be the joy that can't bring me down. Let's build a better world, let's build it now. Let's build it now. Take my hand, I'll lift you up. Take my hand, you pull me. Yeah! Let's build a better world that works for everyone. Thank you, Andrea. Beautiful. Good morning, everyone.
My name is Veronica, and I'm a practitioner here as well as a ministerial student, and thank you all for being here. Today's Dr. Moira will be talking about spiritual action. And some of you may be familiar with the term, treat and move your feet. And so what exactly does that mean? So treat, and when we speak of treat, we're talking about spiritual mind treatment. It's affirmative prayer that we use to reveal the truth. Sometimes we are blinded by the circumstances and the conditions of our lives, and so we use spiritual mind treatment to reveal the truth. Our Science of Mind principles state that we are the revealers of truth, and that anyone can become a revealer of truth based on their conscious contact with God. And how do we create that conscious contact is through our actions, the move your feet part. The move your feet part of action is spiritual practice. Taking action to utilize a practitioner for prayer, to give them the situation or problem that may be going on in your life. The action is giving it away and surrendering it. I had a practitioner one time, I was hemming and hawing about one of my problems, and he heard me and he said, "Veronica, can I take your problem?" I was like, wow, really? And I said, it took me a while. I'm like, do I really want to stop complaining about this problem? I had to think about it for a little while. And I decided, yes, Harry, you can take this problem. And he said, okay, but you need to promise me that you're not going to think about it anymore. I was like, wow, what a freedom. I said, okay. So as days went on, I would start to think about that problem, and I'm like, nope, I gave that to Harry. I gave that problem to Harry. And do you know what happens with problems when we don't give them our attention? They take offense and they leave. And I took my mind and my attention off of that problem. That was the action that I could take. So sometimes action is subtle as well, like surrendering the thought and giving it over to a practitioner. And when we don't know what to do, sometimes the action that we can take is to be of service to someone. Jesus, the master teacher, taught us as he was washing the feet of his disciples that the function of a master is to be of service. So when we are treating and utilizing spiritual mind treatment and we don't know what action to take, perhaps being of service to someone will also take your mind off of the problem. And lastly, treat and move your feet. If you want a different twist, when you're doing your spiritual mind treatment and you release and let it go, you can move your feet by dancing and celebrating that it is done. It is done, and you're celebrating that it is done. So you can move your feet, and the universe says yes to that energy that you're putting out. And as you're moving your feet and dancing in celebration of knowing that it is so. And so it is. Thank you.
Please stand, it's time to sing again. I let the love wash over me. I let it be. welcome Lucy up to share our announcements with us.
Oh, good morning. It's nice and air conditioned in here. Okay, so Divine Dining Wine Wars closes today, which I proposed we call Divine Wining. They did not take my suggestion. At 12:30 p.m., so make sure you head out there after service today and bid. The North versus the South is the theme of Italy, I'm assuming. This is a great opportunity to treat yourself to a fun evening and support our center at the same time. We are also looking for people willing to host another Divine Dining event. Mark Ruth will be in the foyer today to answer any questions. Men's Spirit Group is also today at 12:30 p.m. in Richelieu Hall. Consciousness of Love, the ceremony of ordination, will be held today at 3 p.m. Join us for the ordination of Reverend Catherine McKinney and Reverend Kathy Sinfield. Woo! There will be a reception to follow in Richelieu Hall, and we have a gift box in the lobby, as well as blank note paper where you can write notes to Reverend Kathy and Reverend Catherine. Visioning with Dr. Moira is on Mondays at 6 p.m. Wednesday evening services will begin on July 11th. Mark Ruth is the speaker, and Monica Ruth is offering the meditation. That will be at 7:30. So join us for an inspirational service as we kick off our summer Wednesday evening services. Whew, breathing is a thing that I should do. We always have practitioners on duty. Look for them in the rear of the sanctuary rather than the foyer. That's new. We also offer prayer circle after both services. If you would like to join the circle, please come to the grand piano after service. The flower dedication today for Fred and Vicky Duenas, in memory of Stephen, from Linda and Larry. For them, sorry. And also, a little self-promo, our teen camp is next weekend, so our teens won't be here, so I won't be here, which is sad. But we get to do our beautiful spiritual retreat, and we are taking 10 teens with us this summer, so thank you for helping us get there. Please remain seated for the meditation song.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer.
And so in this moment now, I move straight into gratitude. So grateful to be in a conscious, open receptivity to a deeper awareness of life, my life, and what it truly is. So I allow myself now to come right into that consciousness that knows I am an inlet to an outlet of rivers and rivers and rivers of grace. And I am simply open and receptive now to that beautiful presence, that life that lives me, the power that strengthens me, the love that keeps me, the wisdom that guides me, the beauty that moves me, the sacred heart that loves through me, and I am in awe again. I am consciously conscious of the power and the presence of the creator of my being, the sustainer of my life, the provider of my good, and the lover of my soul. And in this conscious moment now, I am whole. I am, because I know God is, and God is all there is. And I am blessed to know and feel that it is so right now. And gratitude and blessing fills me and fills me until I am so one with the divine essence and truth of my being that I allow the rivers of grace to flow out through this conduit, embracing all there is, all of creation, in love, in peace, in harmony, and in the sure awareness that right where I am and all life is, God is. And where God is, all is well. And what I know in the self as the self, I know for every aspect of the self and for all of creation. As I pronounce life as it was first pronounced, good and very good. This is the joyous truth that I embrace in this moment now. And I embrace it for all of life, of which I am an expression. And I know that what I know transforms and changes and moves all that is into oneness and unity and harmony. So from the deep core, the essential essence of my being, already I know I am responded to by the amazing creative process, the law of life itself, that always affirms the truth that I know, reassuring me that it is already so. And I know it, and I'm grateful for it as I say, and so it is.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Take charge of what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes our prayer.
And so, my dear ones, welcome into this wonderful moment now in our sanctuary and the movement of our journey through this wonderful July that's dedicated and committed to healing. And I know that you, like me, we're open to this new profound understanding of what healing might be. Now, today we're looking at it under the title Spiritual Action. And of course, we all know that our whole life is spiritual action. And what is spiritual action? It's spiritual practice. And what is spiritual practice? Well, it's what you and I are engaged in day and night, non-stop. Whether we're aware of it or not, that's what we're engaged in. And you know it, and I know it by now, that's for sure. And so this particular moment in time, we're invited by the power and the inspiration of the great Holy Spirit, the law of life itself, to really dig a little bit more deeply into this thing called healing. Because until we really have a true grasp of it, we are not going to be as effective in our work as truth students, in our service as the servants to the servants of the people of God, which is the Pope's title, actually, servant to the servants of the people of God. We're not going to be as effective until we get this once and for all. And to begin with, I will remind us all of what Ernest Holmes said and what I first heard a long time ago uttered by Dr. Bitzer. Healing is simply the revealing of the wholeness already within. Healing is the revealing of the wholeness already within. Now, this is a wonderful, juicy thing for you and for me to be chewing on this week. And we'll see where it's going to lead us, and if indeed we are going to engage in spiritual action. Because, you know, desiring it is not enough, wanting it is not enough, wishing it is not enough. It's always about declaring the word for what you want and then moving our feet. We have to put movement under it, action under it. So you and I are actively engaged in this process of revealing the healing that is already in place and wants to be revealed. And it is obvious that everything we need for this to happen has already been given to us. It's already in our spiritual DNA for us to be in that awareness and to be in that expression and to be in that experience. And so you and I this week can make up our minds or not, because we're sovereign beings and we can choose whatever way we want to choose, to embrace whatever it is we want to embrace and spend our time on this plane however we wish to spend it. But our days on this plane are very, very short, and it doesn't matter if that amounts to 150 years or whatever. Very, very short indeed, and anybody who's ever reached that milestone will tell you it's just like a breath, it's just like a dream. So you and I consciously again this week get to recommit to how we want to spend the rest of our days on this plane, and how we want to direct the energy that is ours to direct, and it always is ours to direct. So what is it about this thing called healing that we're not getting? What is it about healing that we're not getting? It comes down to one thing and one thing alone. What is it that you and I believe? What do we truly believe about ourselves? What is it that we believe about ourselves? For healing to happen, here's the first thing that has to happen. A decision has to be made that I want to reveal the wholeness that is within me. Once that's made, I have to be able to understand how that works. Now, how it works is that you and I must allow our egos every single day, throughout the day, some respite, some rest, some ceasing from frenetic activity, so that the ego can rest long enough so that the spirit can be the focus and the immersion that we find ourselves in. It's not going to happen until the ego is at rest, the ego is at peace, the ego is quiet, and the ego is listening. And that's what the ego wants. That's what the egoic aspect, the human aspect of our lives truly, truly want. It wants us to care enough, to be present enough, to be sovereign enough, to be in control of ourselves enough, to give it a break, to give the ego a break, to allow it to have peace, to have rest, to take care of it. It's the first thing we have to do. And then once the ego is at rest, the soul has its opportunity to emerge as the dominant focus of our consciousness. And so when that happens enough, the possibility for a blend and an immersion of the two happens. And when the immersion occurs, when the blend occurs, when the oneness occurs, You have what Ernest Holmes calls the realization of the spiritual being, the spiritual man or the spiritual woman. That's what happens. Or, in more orthodox terms, you have what is conscious Christedness occurring. Now, all of us are created and born Christed, but we have to move into conscious awareness of that as we journey through this three-dimensional plane with a dense body. And that's what happens to us on planet Earth. In my Father's house there are many mansions. This is a three-dimension. There are endless dimensions. Now, just because we land on a three-dimensional plane doesn't mean that's all we experience. All of us have the capacity to be in and out of all of those dimensions, and some of us are a lot of the time. We're not just confined by a three-dimensional experience on this plane. And in any age, in any time, in any space, no one ever is. Even way what we call back in Neanderthal times, there were the enlightened ones. They could go in and out of dimensions, but that's a talk for another time. But right now, all we're interested in is this beautiful blend and harmonization of ego and soul, ego and spirit, the formed and the unformed, the seen and the unseen. That's what spiritual practice is going to be this week. That's what it's going to look like if we respond to the invitation. And it's up to us whether or not we want to do that. But I can guarantee anybody who does will arrive at the end of the week changed, transformed, energized in a way that we've never been energized before, because we've allowed the ego. We have taken compassion on the ego, and mark my words, make no mistake about it. Your seminal project and my seminal project on this plane is self-care, self-healing to begin with, because there's no way I can understand this world if I don't understand myself, as I shared this morning. There's no way I can love this world until I first love myself, and there's certainly no way I can help heal this world until I first heal myself. Just not going to happen. It's going to be iffy and hit and miss all of the time. It'll always look like I'm taking 2 steps forward and 10 steps backwards. So you are your own primary project. You are your primary relationship in your own primary project, and that work is without ceasing. It's never ending. Self-care, self-help, self-healing, first and foremost, is your challenge and mine. Of course, we'd rather be self-caring everybody else than ourselves, or self-healing everybody else except ourselves, or whatever it is. We'd rather occupy ourselves, distract ourselves from ourselves by taking care of everybody else. But you see, the care that we're taking of others in that state is not as effective as it could be if I first had taken care of myself, because guess what? Nobody wants you or me to be sharing from our fumes. They have enough fumes of their own. They want you and I to share from fullness, from fullness, from fullness. That's the best kind of care. Now, what does that look like? It means that I can be present to you. When you're in my presence and I'm in yours, nothing else is going on, nothing else is happening. I am totally one with you, and I am totally present with you, and you are the most important thing in my life right now. That's what it means. That's what fullness means. That's what whole givingness means. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing to have that state of being, and to be in that state of mind and consciousness and heart when we're dealing with each other? Oh, let me tell you, that would truly be deemed to be a miracle in this day and age. Why? Because in this day and age where we never before could have been in such communication with each other, we have less communication with each other than ever. Now, I know this is a trending thing and it has to balance out. The boat is tipped this way and it has to come to the middle because it's new, they're toys, and we're fascinated by them. And the fascination has become an addiction. And let me tell you, it has become an addiction. There are groups now for people who are addicted to their gadgets, believe it or not. And so for you and for me as a truth student and a dedicated, committed, spiritually unfolding person, it is very important for us to take on the challenge that we're given this week to be present to ourselves enough, to be able to take care of ourselves enough so that we can better take care of each other. Because we all know, and we don't have to be reminded, that we're here to take care of each other, we belong to each other, we're here to serve each other, to do the best we can to help each other, and that our lives are not about getting, our lives are all about giving. And our lives will always and ever be only about giving, and until you and I get that, we'll never, ever be satisfied by anything or anyone or any experience on this plane. Because why? We are the image and the likeness of the Creator of our being, and the definitions for spirit is the givingness of life back onto itself. And you and I are the givingness of life back onto itself, whether we like it or not. And when I say we, I mean whether ego likes it or not. And if ego doesn't like it, it's only because ego is confused and it hasn't been taken care of by the spirit, the soul, the greatness, the moreness of ourselves. And so it's a big job that you and I have this week. A very big job. But are we equal to it? Yes, we are. Yes, we are, because we've already come in here pre-approved. We were pre-approved before we came in here for the task. And guess what? You and I signed up for this. We wanted to be the frontliners. We wanted to be the ones right up front and center field for the transformation that's occurring on this plane right now, for the cusping that's taking place right now. We're in the cusp. There is, as you know, a transformation occurring, and there's turbulence and there's truculence when any birthing process occurs. And this is a huge one when you consider all the turbulence and truculence that's going on, both within and without. But we need to be fully awake and alert and on board with it all. Very recently, an old cowboy was approaching a very well-known church in New York. And he wanted to go to church that morning. And he was wearing very shabby clothing, very clean, but very shabby clothing, and very well-worn old boots and an old hat, very well-worn hat, cowboy hat. And he carried a very tattered Bible in his hand. And he walked up the steps and into this church. And of course, the reception he got was, to say the very least, not very warm and not very welcoming. And nobody paid much attention to him at all. And people were really surprised that he would walk right up towards the altar and be seated near front. And it was very palpable and very noticeable that this person was very different to everybody else in that church. Anyway, toward the end of the sermon, the minister even started to give a talk on what appropriate dress was for church on Sunday, and the way to show up for God on Sunday, and wearing your Sunday best, and so on and so forth, etc. And so at the end of the service, nobody paid much heed to the man again, and nobody reached out to him, and so forth. And as everybody was moving out and the minister was shaking hands with everybody, when he came up, he said hello, and he said, "I wonder if you would do something for me, sir, this week." And the old cowboy said, "Sure." And he said, "I wonder if you would, contemplate, I see you have a Bible in your hand, if you would contemplate the next time you're speaking with God, ask God, what kind of address is appropriate for church on a Sunday." He said, "Sir, would you mind doing that for me?" He said, "Sure, yes, I'd be happy to do that." So next Sunday came, the man approached again, he came in again, the same kind of meeting, same kind of greeting, none, sat down. And then afterwards, the minister talked to him, and he said, "Well, sir," he said, "did you have that chat with the Lord, and did you ask what kind of appropriate address it would be for Sunday?" And the man said, "Yes, I did actually. I did, Reverend, I did ask." And he said, "Well, what was God's answer?" Well, he said, "God's answer was puzzling to me, because God's answer was, I don't know, I've never been to that church. I don't know what address." Would you say some healing need to have occurred in that community? Some healing need to have occurred with the minister? And the minister, I think, got it. He was quite taken aback. And I think that that was an awakening for that minister. And the man was very sincere. I mean, and I'm told this is a true story. Whether it is or isn't, I don't know, but it's a very clear story. And I mean, if you like, it's an exaggerated version of how we all are at times when that which we are not familiar with, or that which we don't understand, or that which doesn't seem to fit in, comes into our presence, and straight away how we go into judgment about that. Well, I'm bringing us back to judgment because we need less of it in our life and living, but most of all, we need less judgment about ourselves. We need to stop judging ourselves so severely, because nobody judges us more severely than we judge ourselves. And nobody berates us more than we berate ourselves. And nobody puts ourselves down more than we put ourselves down. They can't. We're the most powerful at that. Nobody has the power to do it unless we give it to them in the first place. So we need to stop all of that nonsense this week, and we need to truly start focusing on the fact that I'm not this body, I'm not my circumstances, I'm not my situations, I'm not my conditions, I'm not my failures, and I'm certainly not my successes. That's just a little bit of nonsense on the surface of life and living. I am so much more than that. Now, when is it that you and I are going to get a grip on that? That to get to the moreness, to get to the greatness, to get to the power for good in the world that is greater than we are, that we can use and it uses us, what is it going to take? What is it going to take? Just one thing and one thing alone: you being present to yourself. You caring enough about yourself to want to take care of yourself. You honoring yourself enough to respect yourself enough to realize enough that you are more than your name. You are the indwelling of the Most High. In fact, all that you are is what you are because Spirit, infinite being, had a yearning and a desire to know itself, believe it or not, as you. One day, oh my gosh, I think I have this great idea. I want to express myself on three-dimensional planet Earth as blah, 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 blah. I want to know myself in that form. I want to express myself in that form. I want to feel myself in that form. I want to have that adventure of myself in that form. What a great good idea. And she was so, and he was so, and it was so. That's what it's going to take for us to start the process of healing, to begin to be open, just open to the idea of knowing ourselves as we have first been known, as that which is good, that which is very good, as that is, as the angels are. Ye are as gods, it is written. Now, don't get carried away with that one. What we are is godly. What we are is spiritual essence and energy. So how are we going to go about our healing? We're going to go about our healing by one thing and one thing alone. All you and I have to do is to create an open receptivity, as I was explaining this morning. Openness, receptivity, allowance of, acceptance of an idea that I just might be all that it is written that says I am, the image and the likeness of the Most High, etc. So I create this open receptivity to the wholeness that wants to be revealed by having that awareness in my consciousness. And in my consciousness, I'm creating this nucleus, this vortex of energy that wants to reveal the wholeness that is within me, which of course is what heals. Because, as we know, the only thing that needs to be healed is consciousness itself. There's nothing else needs healing except consciousness itself. So I create the vortex, this nucleus of energy, and then all the time I'm more open to it, I'm more open to it, I'm empowering it, I'm empowering it, I'm empowering it, I'm more believing, I'm more believing, I'm more believing, until I'm beginning to know, I'm beginning to know, I'm beginning to know. And then that nucleus goes da-da-da-da-da-da-dum-bum. And it explodes and irradiates out into everything and everyone. And then the healing that is to happen must happen. No thing can impede it. And the healing is simply the revealing of the wholeness that already is within. My gosh, can you believe it? Two of us can. It's a start. It's the beginning of the yeast. The nucleus is forming. Two of us can actually believe it. You know, by the time the week is over, I hope a whole lot more of us are believing it. Because only believe, all things are possible, only believe. Oh, yes. Master, can you heal me? Can you heal me? Do you believe that I can heal you? Yes, Master, I believe that you can heal me. Then go. Your faith has made you whole. Your faith has made you whole. That's why your project is you. You have to have the faith and the power and the presence within you that can do the work, and that you have nothing got to do with it except get out of the way. Let the ego rest. Let the ego rest, and let the spirit sing. Let the song of your soul sing. And what is the RX for healing? What is it? RX for healing equals LOVE. You must love yourself as you have first been loved. And then you can love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself. But if you're not loving yourself as you have first been loved, and I'm not doing that either, there is no loving of anybody else. We'll never know the love that lives us, the love that fills us, the love that frees us, until we first come into that love of the self within the self that we are. Do we understand this? Is there something that somebody here is not getting? Because this is the time to ask the question. Love yourself. It's okay to love yourself. It's not a selfish thing to do. Indeed, it's the most selfless thing you could do, is to truly love yourself as you have first been loved. Because, as the good Emmett Fox says, there is nothing too big, too great, too awesome, that enough love cannot heal. Nothing. Why don't we believe it? That's the question. So what are we all back to now? Belief, faith, trust, belief. Do you believe? Do you believe in the power that sets you free? Do you believe that you are the living presence of the Most High? Do you believe that Spirit in all its magnificent glory dwells within you? Do you believe that you are a point of power through which the infinite in all of its radiant magnificence expresses through you with your permission? Do you believe it? Yes. Oh my goodness. Some of us have actually moved into that state already. By the end of the week, you'll be able to walk on water, and then you can take the boat. Belief is what it's all about. Trust, belief, and faith. Do you believe? So ask yourself, and I will ask myself too, all through the week, do you believe, Maura? Do you believe? Are you trusting? Are you trusting? Do you have faith? Do you have faith? Are you in touch with the greatness and the power and the presence of the one within you that does all of this through you? You are simply the inlet to the outlet to the rivers of grace. That's all you are. That's all you have to be. And it's your willingness to be that is only what it takes. That's all. So be the most beautiful and humble and wonderful and bright and cheery and uplifting and advancing and all that goes with that outlet that you can be. That's all. I don't have to do. You know, here's the thing. It's never about impressing anybody in our lives about anything. We're not here to impress each other. What we're here to do is to allow the impression of Spirit upon us to express itself through us. Would you agree? Yes. Okay, what kind of a week are we going to have? Great. Good and very good. Yes? Yes? What kind of a week are you going to have? Great. No, I mean you. I'm just talking to you personally. I don't mean you to speak for everybody else. What kind of a week are you deciding to have for yourself this week? Awesome. What kind of a week? What kind of a week? Okay, now you've stated that in public 3 times, and I am saying to you now, and so it is. I cannot wait for next Sunday, because you'll all be floating in here next Sunday, and there will have been a great revealing of the healing, of the wholeness that is within each one of us and within this community. Am I right? Yes. And so it is. I will clap to wholeness too. And so now we have a sharing from Reverend Catherine, as we always do at this time. And over to you, Reverend Catherine.
Dear Dr. Moira, I've been attending Redondo Church for a long time. I could have written long before now with so many things I'm grateful for, but haven't taken the time to share. In a talk I heard recently, there was talk about guilt, about getting concerned for feeling guilty about things that have happened. I listened about how non-productive that is for me. I heard about not trying to get over it, but to rising above it. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to you for sharing that truth. As a positive thinker and an active practitioner of religious science, I am often wanting to think positively about the guilt in my life, my thoughts or prayers, right? Instead, I am acknowledging what I feel and choosing to rise above it. This truth impacted me in a way that I am changed forever, and I thank you.
Give yourselves a round of applause. The reason why these things are shared with you is for you to know that this could not happen if you as a community were not here. This is the good that is created because we all form this community. This is the hidden good you don't see. And there's more, much more of what you don't see than what you do see. One person can't do much of anything. We are the power of the teamwork that we come together to form. And so you can feel good about all of these demonstrations where people are revealing the wholeness within them week after week after week, and it's because you are responsible for it. All of the community coming together to form this wonderful safe zone, this wonderful comforting zone, this wonderful place for people to feel spiritually at home. So as you know, I thank you deeply every single week for being you, and for all the wonderful thoughts you're having, and all the wonderful feelings you're having, and all the wonderful things you're doing throughout the week. You're doing it. You're doing it. So keep knowing that and keep feeling that you are doing it. And that is what it is to be the servant to the servants. So now we have that opportunity to enter into this wonderful ritual that we have every week, the ritual of celebrating the law of reciprocity. And we know that what goes around comes around. So let's take our gift between our blessing hands and say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, to prosper. All those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good, and I release my gift with love, and so it is.
I know I
in the house. She's amazing. She's on fire. Always on fire. That's one lady that burns so brightly with such great poise and yet is always on fire. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful blend. And of course, we have our great music from our great band. We have Andy, we have Bruce, and we have Kendall today. Wonderful. And of course, we have Jim on the golden horn. Yes, Jim. And of course, music is God's beautiful expression in the most wonderful way. Actually, music speaks louder than words. Indeed, that could be a song. Could be a song. All right, so what is happening this afternoon is of the most wondrous and awesome, magical, mystical stuff that life is made of. We are having the ordination of Reverend Kathy and Reverend Catherine. And it's a rare thing to be able to be present at an ordination. Many installations, yes, but ordination is rarer than installations. And so it's an honor and it's a joy to be able to be present at that. And I know that you're going to be here for our wonderful ministers, as they are always here for each one of us. And it will be, a wonderful family affair. So it is at 3:00, and I know that some of you will be eager to get home and maybe get something to eat or whatever. Or some of you can hang around until then. Who knows? I don't know. There's always fellowship in Richelieu Hall, and we can, bond with each other. But I want to introduce you to very amazing friends and special people here today. I wonder if Reverend Dr. Jane Ryder would stand first. Dr. Jane is the Chief Director of Licensing and Credentials in Home Office. And let me tell you, nobody has a more awesome job or a demanding job than this lady has. And she does it with such grace and such love and such devotion. And she's to be lauded and applauded, I can tell you. She's the glue that keeps it all together. She really, really is. And she's given us many, many years, although she looks so young, many, many decades, I'll not say how many, of wonderful, glorious service to our organization. And so I want to really say how wonderful it is to have you here. She's a precious friend of mine and a wonderful, amazing minister. So thank you for all that you do and all that you are. Thank you so much. Thank you.
How fortunate you are to have this amazing
One day maybe I'll become a Dr. Tom, but I just can't go there. You know, when anybody praised him or applauded him, they'd say, anyway, that's Dr. Tom. And now the next person I want to introduce to you is also another very dear and special friend. It's the Reverend Sharon Hudson. I'd like to stand, Reverend Sharon. Now, she's a brave soul, a very brave soul. This beautiful lady, as young as she is, thought she was going into retirement, you know. She thought she would take it easy. She thought, it's a bit of nourishment I want now, not punishment anymore at this time. I'm ready to play. Well, guess what? Last summer she was elected as she could have had a more key position, but she was elected as the field director for the organization. Now, what that means is she's in charge of international, as well as home affairs. In other words, she takes care of all the internal stuff, whereas our spiritual leader takes care of all the external stuff. He's the face to the world. She's the face to us in the field. And her work is cut out for her. She needs a lot of prayer, actually. She could do with a lot of prayer. But she very, very graciously stepped up to the plate and said yes. And she came out of the idea. She never even got to have 5 minutes of retirement, but she came out of that idea, plunged herself straight into a new ministry, and we're so thrilled that you do it. And you do it so beautifully and graciously. Thank you. And the next person I want to introduce is a dear friend of mine, too. A long time ago, we met at Asilomar. And the Reverend Eileen. Stand up, Reverend Eileen. She has been in ministry for decades too, even though she looks like a kid. But that's what happens when you're a religious scientist, you know. You can't tell what people's age are. You don't want to, and they don't care anyway what their age is. But she has given so many wonderful years of service in so many different areas of our ministry to our organization. And she has journeyed with Reverend Kathy for Reverend Kathy's time of mentorship. She's been Reverend Kathy's mentor, and she's here to support Reverend Kathy and to celebrate with Reverend Kathy today, and to hang out with us all and just to get to know us. And a really devoted and very committed person to the teaching of Science of Mind and Spirit and to her ministry, and she certainly deserves recognition for all of that. Aren't you lucky there are only 3 of them here at the moment, or we'd never get out of here. We'd never. But it's always good. Oh, please, stand up. They thought they were getting away with it. Would Las Vegas stand up? Reverend Cheryl and Reverend Stacy are here. They are co-ministers, they're co-directors of their center in Las Vegas, and they were students, ministerial students, with the good Reverends Catherine and Kathy, and they're here to support and celebrate them today. We're so delighted to have you. Very dear to my heart, very dear to my heart. Am I missing out on anybody? Is there any minister in disguise out there? No, okay. So I look forward to our party this afternoon, and I look forward to see you. And today, my dear, we're going to offer up this prayer. We're going to say this prayer with one very specific thing in mind, and that would be the safe recovery of the children and their teacher. I know 4 of them have come out already, and they're doing well. 4 are out already doing well. And so we're going to know, I know you've all been thinking about them during the week and knowing for them a safe exit from where they are right now. And so keep that going, keep that energy high. Just don't get any fear, don't let any negative energy be around what you're knowing for them. Just see them up with their parents, with their families, and home once more where they are safe and sound. That's what we're going to know for them, and we're going to know in our hearts, you know, an upliftment for every single person on this plane who's having a hard time just now, whatever kind of a hard time that is. We're going to know that we're making the difference now by surrounding this whole globe with so much love and so much light and so much deep, deep desire for unity, harmony, and a world that works for everyone. I know divine love enfolds me, divine light leads me, divine life lives in me, divine wisdom inspires me, divine compassion expresses through me, and divine power protects me. All that I am is Spirit's life and expression. It is good and very good. With deep joy and generosity filling me, I go forward now in sacred service, supporting a compassionate world that works for all. I move through my days with grace and ease, in peace and love, in health and wellness, in fullness and plenty, and in loving relationship with all. What I now know for myself, with blessing and in deep gratitude, I do know for all life. There is only love, there is only love, there is only love, and guess what? You're it. We're going to stand now for our song.